Wait till he falls, then I'll get a hold of him.
No, I was too early. Oh. There were two that I went by.
Yeah.
It was too early. But I wanted to, I just did.
Yeah. I don't know what they have in an event or something.
I don't know what they were doing. There weren't a ton of cars there. I mean, there was a decent crowd. Well, there was there, but I'm like, that's like, I don't know, I didn't like count them, but I was expecting like a full. But still, just
Yeah, so
I know.
stage right here. Yeah.
It's evidence. No pressure, but you know, can How about we get started? Dr. Bob Zellmann. I'm one of the speakers in this great series we've had for over 10 years now. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about who I am, a little bit about philosophy, etc., etc. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any answers? All right. That's what we try to do in philosophy. We try to ask a lot of really good questions and then try to come up with reasonable, evidential answers to the questions that puzzle us. Well, my title's just kind of provocative. Here we go. Let's see if I can use the technology, see what works here. I'm here from somewhere else. What is the self? When does that begin? When does it end? Am I my body or am I my mind? Why do we think we're not animals or even natural in some sense? Who am I if things are always changing? Is how I think about myself different from how others perceive me? Whose view is right? How do I know? Are we bodies or minds primarily? Well, that's a lot to think about, and I've always been curious. I've asked these questions since I was a kid. I used to get in trouble for it, because people didn't have answers. So these are questions that philosophers ask, and you must ask them too while you're in school, of who you are, your identity. How do you identify? What am I? Curiosity is a part of who we are. College is a really wonderful time to feed your curiosity, to be challenged, to grow, and to examine the joy in the process of struggling to try to find anything out. Enjoy yourself and those challenges. What parts of reality or possible events do I eliminate to tell you my story, to share with you? Is anything about me permanent, or in 100 years will it be gone? How can I tell what's real and true? These are the larger questions that lie behind any kind of understanding about trying to describe or tell my story to you. Things overall seem actually pretty temporary to me. As I get older especially, things go very, very quickly. But here goes. So what I'm telling you is true right now. All right. We mentally and linguistically chop and prune reality all the time, and we're doing it right now. But like Kant said, we can only see our paltry, limited, evolved minds and what they see. My Kant picture here. There's Kant, all right. Lots of questions, and Kant, of course, right? Kant was this fellow who studied about what we can know and what the limitations of knowing are. We can't escape these limitations of our senses, our bodies, our histories, the categories of reality like time and space that our minds limit us to. I mean, we're not gods who simply know all, so we must accept limits and reductions. So what is most telling? What's most relevant for me to talk to you about? What makes a good and truthful story? Well, the self is a bit of a moment, particularly if you look at it from a geological, astronomical perspective. Look, we evolve, nothing sits still. We limit our knowledge to sift out a few features in order not to be overwhelmed. And oh, this talk will be limiting, I promise you. I know I'm largely the ideas of my society and culture, but I happen to think that you ought to celebrate the struggle of the individual to find your own voice, style, meaning, life, without necessarily harming others, or elevating yourself, or casting others aside, or denigrating them. It's work. But I do want to promise you, your death will be your death. It's one of the most isolating moments there is. Your birth and your death are yours alone. Everything else is shared, but those are your special time.
Yeah.
Ouch, sorry.
That's a little dark, but
It's
they
a
are.
little limiting, I know. Welcome to life. All right. Well, things change moment by moment, while other things seem much more fixed. I'm stardust after all, billions and billions of years old from the Big Bang, it looks like, right? Okay, looks like we came from animals. Some of us haven't evolved that far, but enough about my relatives. My relatives are gonna watch that and cringe. I walked out of Africa in the genes of my forebears. My genetic profile says that I came from northern climes of Europe, German, and English. As I stand with you today, my shirt's made in Pakistan, the cotton originated in Egypt, the metal on me came from a variety of places around the world, the food I eat comes from and originated all over the world. That's all right, what's the deal there? There you go, food, look at this food. Food from all over the place, you're from all over the place. You were here temporarily. Africa, dates, watermelons, yams, Central America, corn, papaya, all this stuff we have, it's from somewhere else. This is a part of you. All of this is from somewhere else. All right. What I eat has helped me to become and make me from who I am, and it's from all over the place. My language is from Germany, England. My phone is made in China. The numbers and letters I use are Arabic. My ideas and culture and philosophies are Greek. They're Native American. They're German. They're Indian. They're Chinese. They're African. They're Middle Eastern. Everywhere but Australia. I think. But I do love koalas and kangaroos and platypus and the people of Australia. All right? Want to be inclusive. I'm from and have genetically, culturally, physically, and spiritually evolved from millions of places, everywhere almost. It's hard to pin it down, but let's focus on more recent events. About my particular biological and scholastic journey, here you go. I believe I was born into the era of the equalizing difference in America. We were going to the moon, minorities and women were fighting to become equal. There was real progress, and the country felt stable somewhat and generous. The music was great. The 60s and 70s were a time of change and transformation and opening and a time of hope which have never been duplicated, and I felt that. I felt privileged to live in that time. Oh, come on away. My grandparents. It's my mom's parents. This is my grandma holding a lot of money. I want to hear that story.
Where'd it go?
There's pictures of them in the 20s and 30s, and they partied. They lived in New York City, and I'm telling you, before the Depression, it was wild. Everything you've ever heard is true. All right. So here's my parents. Here's my mom. Here's my dad. My dad in New Jersey, he flunked out of college his first time. He told me that. His dad sent him to college again in West Virginia to become a shop teacher. His dad had graduated from the 3rd grade and had worked to become a successful in Ma Bell of New Jersey when telephones were just beginning. He knew the value of an education. I was born in 1959 in Pennsylvania. That's old. Near Pittsburgh. Eisenhower was president, US Steel and GM were king. My mom was younger, a coal miner's daughter from the hills of West Virginia. In those days, the 1940s and 50s, women from West Virginia went to Washington, D.C. to meet a man or went to college to get their MRS degree, that's to get married. Seriously, that's what they did. My mom went to a one-room school, and she moved to town. She wanted to move to town so she could experience this new thing called sliced bread. That's a true story. That's a true story, sliced bread. Now this is weird, hang on. Half of me potentially existed in my mother's ovary, since women have all the eggs they will ever have in them at birth. So in some way, I half existed in my grandma's womb in a way since 1938. So I've been around somewhat since 1938. That's weird. Weird, but there it is. So I was potentially around as an egg since then. The sperm I was created in around 1958. They got together in 1950. I'm older than I look then in some ways, right? Well, half of me is. I am mature in some ways and not in others, and that maybe accounts for that. I don't know, anyway. My folks met in college in West Virginia. My dad had to take some photos for a class. He was looking around who'd take a photo of. That's the picture my dad took of my mom the first day they met in a class. My mom's 18 there. He took a picture of my mom and they began dating. Got married a year later, and a year later I was born. Dad graduated and Dad started out as a salesman. Mom was a housewife. I didn't experience much trauma and death in my life. I was never molested. My parents loved each other and were stable. I'm lucky. I'm just lucky, that's all. Brothers and sisters followed. And now I just gotta go a little weird. Here's my cats. People like cats. I just, if this was bad, I want to uplift it with some cats. These are my cat. This is my cat, Push-Up Pop. My daughter named him when she was 5. He's orange, and it's Push-Up Pop. And so everyone at the vet's like, Push-Up Pop is their favorite cat. Just because, anyway. This is my great cat, Zellmann, the greatest cat ever. Just so incredible. This is my cats now, Bink and Claire. Anyway, all right, that's weird. But enough of that. They're more interesting than I am, I'm sure. Anyway, so we moved a lot. My dad was a salesman. We lived in Ohio, where I witnessed Lake Erie so polluted it was declared dead. I mean dead. It smelled and it was on fire. I remember being 4 years old and going, what's that? And I go, that's the lake. That's a lake, okay. I remember being greatly affected. It's probably why I'm an environmentalist to this day. We ended up moving to Roseville, Michigan, which became the heroin capital of Michigan at the time. I grew up on 10 Mile Road, 2 miles away from Eminem's famous 8 Mile. If you want to know what my life was like, watch The Wonder Years. It was exactly like that. I watch that show and I go, oh my gosh, the music, the whole bit, the Vietnam War, small houses, neighborhoods with people from all over the world trying to find their dreams. Optimism ruled. It really did. I was young but aware of the Vietnam War. It was always on the news. I was a good reader and athlete. I had a lot of energy. I corralled that into sports. School is where the races in Detroit mixed, but they didn't mix outside of that. That was kind of tragic. I saw racism straight up. But there wasn't any in my house. My dad's best friend growing up was black. And I just never heard it. And I would go to other people's houses and it was so strange. Like, what? To hear words? And it was incredible. I heard racist remarks in households around me. That felt terrible. I was there in Detroit in '68 when there were riots. I could smell the smoke. I was 10 miles away. I could smell it. It was kind of fearful. That was scary and confusing. One of the peak moments of my life was in 2nd grade in Detroit. Mrs. Tripler changed my life forever when she read Charlotte's Web to us. I cried so hard. Greatest book ever written. Everyone has value, some pig. We live in a web. We, as a lower middle class family, ended up moving to Chicago, a suburb in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It was safe, great schools, great library, but I just didn't fit in. I just felt that I like to read and think, and I just didn't get that there. People were into comfort and their houses and boats, and that's cool. But I wanted something different. I really didn't fit in. I was serious. I've been called an old soul my entire life. I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, almost all nonfiction. I wanted to know. This is my high school graduation picture. No, it isn't. That's Cary Grant, the greatest actor in history. I just want to, oh boy. Not everything you see is real. I got a great education at my high school and met some nice folks. I had one teacher there, Mr. Pfannkuchen, which his name means pancake in German anyway. He changed my life. He made you think, he questioned, there he is. He's just simply like, wow, wow, wow. I was bored in school and I took his class and I went, wow, I just took off. I was never the same again. I worked hard every summer at a lot of jobs. I worked for city, street, and sewer. You wouldn't believe what you learn about life in the sewer. It's amazing. You see everything. Drugs. I was a part of a team. We would watch, okay, we're gonna go bust this house. We would sit there and watch, oh, there's some marijuana. It's a small world. I worked every year in a summer at jobs, city street sewer, a drill bit factory. I was reading Karl Marx at the time, by the way. It's very interesting. All work is a form of learning. Seriously, remember that. Okay. There's me and my dog, Bambi. Boy, what a great dog. McMurray College. McMurray College in Jacksonville was everything for me. I got serious. I played sports, I was pitched. I love my philosophy and psych classes. It's where I came alive. Two teachers changed me, Dr. Richard Palmer, a world famous hermeneutician, and Dr. Holiday Milby, an amazing psychology professor. People and reality and ideas were my thing. I was so spoiled. Small classes, 750 students total, lots of attention. I was in a play, I took photos, I showed movies. I did everything. I played every sport possible. Like, can you dive? I'm like, no, I can fall off a board. You're on the dive team. I mean, seriously, it's like that, right? We're just looking for bodies. Many of my philosophy classes were 4 people or less. You had to do the work. You had to pay attention. It was a luxury. It was a luxury to be there. It was amazing. And Karen. I met most of my best friends and my awesome wife there. She's a year older than me. We only dated after college, but she was the one for me. She's a professor of social work at Western. She's smarter, she's better looking than me, and she's kinder. Ask any of the students who've had both of us. My daughter Pema is now a social worker like her mom. I chose majors on the last day you could technically do it. I was interested in almost everything, but philosophy and psych were for me. But I also took Chinese, Russian history, mime, economics, art, biology, German, theater. The more invaried you become, the more balanced you'll live a life, I think, and the less fearful you'll be of the world. I was a Swiss Army knife of knowledge. My favorite classes were abnormal psych, aesthetics, and existentialism. I can talk Kant and also fix your car. It's a good. I enjoyed people and ideas. What a great place for all that. Incredible professors at a tiny school. I made most of my lifelong friends there. We were all so vulnerable and kind to one another. I feel that here sometimes. This is a safe place. I hope it feels like a safe place. That's what this is about. You can be who you are, you can make mistakes and make friends and go on. I wanted more school. I applied to a master's degree in existential phenomenological psychology and chose to go to Seattle University in Seattle, Washington, a rigorous Jesuit school. I was the youngest person in the first class of that program. It was exciting. I studied the natural world there. I explored Seattle. I studied so hard. I used to ride the ferry boats back and forth between the islands, pay $1.50, got on a boat and ride back 10 times and read my books and go out and look at the eagles. It was phenomenal. There were so many great used bookstores there. It was just phenomenal. Graduate school is a form of immersion. You have to be a serious student. Read. You have to be ready. I loved my classes. I did an internship at a locked psychiatric facility and learned that I did not like the locked nature of that experience. But I learned a lot. We often learn things from the hardest things that we do. I graduated, I moved to Marion, Illinois, got married in Carbondale, Illinois, and started work as a youth counselor for about 6 years in Southern Illinois for the county health department. Southern Illinois is so beautiful. You've got to get down there sometime. Oh, got married to Karen. That's awesome. Grad school. I went to the history, psych, and philosophy departments at SIU, and I asked about getting a PhD. The philosophy department said they might have a teaching assistantship for me available, and that means I ran the class discussion after school, graded papers for a professor in return for schooling for free. I got that, I enjoyed it, and I worked very hard, and there became a better teacher, and I was debt-free. That's the miracle of all of this. Have somebody else pay for your schooling if you can, seriously. Karen was a social worker in Southern Illinois at the time. We lived in a lovely little cabin on the trees, on a lake for 15 years. It was amazing. SIU prepares people to do research to teach at universities or colleges in the Midwest. I took lots of different courses, including religion classes. I had some great teachers and some amazing smart friends. That's the best thing about graduate school. You go there and you're like, you're not the smartest person in the room anymore. Not even by a shot, long shot. It is incredible. Be in a room with somebody who knows 6 languages. I'm like, I barely know English. You know, I know Pig Latin and I know how to swear in German. I mean, that's, that's my skill level. A PhD is no joke. You have to disappear into school. It's hard. Not everyone finishes. A lot don't. I did because I was older. I'd been in therapy. I'd had a long-term stable relationship with Karen, and I am stubborn as hell. That's why I did it. Philosophy is about learning to attack arguments using reasoning and it means the love of wisdom. And to me, it also means knowing and learning about the emotional side of yourself. It's all work and worth it. And that's actually why the psychology part of me helped me get through some of the emotional sides of things, because I knew I had that skill. And a lot of my philosophy friends just had the thinking without the emotional insights, and that balance helps balance yourself out in ways. I spent 13 years in college. 13 years of college. I have 4 degrees. I would do it again in a second. In a second. I loved it. I loved it. Oh, it was a lot of work. A lot of work. A dissertation is a book you write on a subject when you're curious about that in order to get a PhD. It's a book you have to write. I've always been interested in what the self is, and my dissertation was called The Ecological Self, that the self is a creation of time, place, and sets of philosophies that surround the realities and the truths framed in the time and place we're born into. We are a continual transaction with the world. And then I figured this out. My dissertation is Charlotte's Web writ large. Just figured that out like a year ago. Like, okay, huh. We are networks, we're webs, we're relationships more than anything else. That's what determines who we are. Thank you, Charlotte. Some pig. I graduated after 7 years, typical in those days, 2 years for a master's in philosophy, 4 years for a PhD, and 1 year of writing a dissertation. Karen and I moved to Macomb area for her to become a professor of social work in the department about 25 years ago. I taught part-time at all kinds of schools here. A few years later, the position I now hold became available. Emma was born. Full-time philosophy jobs are hard to come by. I taught part-time for 10 years. 10 years, wow. I applied to my present job about 20 years ago and have been here since. I really enjoy challenging people and making them think. It's not always a comfortable process, but the idea of intellectually challenging myself and others, and do you have reasons and arguments to back up why you say and what you think? Philosophers by nature argue, but fairly and impersonally. Hopefully that's the feeling. Here's my family. Here's my brothers and sisters. My dad's still around, he's 90. He still played golf last week.
God love him.
It's amazing. Here's my family. I am here from somewhere else. I'm from all over the place. All kinds of things made me who I am. If I had, and here's the future, hopefully. I don't know. I'm going to get buried and become something else.
That's right.
There you go. If I had to tell you anything I've learned we're actually a dynamic community. You're not one thing. You're a set of cells. You're not one cell. You're not it's amazing. We're communities. We're ecological creatures. I want to tell you to take pictures of your friends, and they're not their houses and not the rocks and the trees. When you go somewhere with somebody, take pictures of the trees and stuff. But that stuff will be there 1,000 years from now. Take pictures of your friends. I made that mistake. I have all kinds of pictures of rocks and stuff, and I can go stand, it's the same damn rock. It didn't move. But my friends are gone, so take pictures of your friends. The rocks and beach will be there, your friends will not. There's a saying in a book that's very powerful in the 60s called Be Here Now. You should be here now. You should focus on the now. I want you to attack arguments and not people. I think you should love people and learn to forgive. You should forgive. Read history, lots of it. Try to transcend where you grew up. Try to become something more. You don't have to be a stereotype. Who wants to be a stereotype? Walk in nature. It's transformative. Tell people you love. Open, not close as you get older. Open. All right. You have 2 ears and 1 tongue. You should listen twice as much as you talk. We don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. Good luck to us all. Transcend. We're all from somewhere else. Thank you. If anyone wants to stay and ask a question, feel free. There'll be a quiz on Thursday.